In this video, I'm going to talk you through 6 exercises and stretches that I've found particularly useful for runners. You could use this 20-minute video as a practice in itself, and I'll talk you through each of the exercises. Or if you haven't got 20 minutes, you could just select the exercises which look most relevant to you. For the hamstring pandiculation exercise, we're going to start with some dynamic movement before we stay in a static stretch. You're going to start with one knee bent and the foot on the floor, and one leg stretched out in an extended position with the heel pointing away from you and the toes pointing upwards. Starting with the palms down. To begin, breathe in and raise the arms up over the head. And as you breathe out, lower the arms back down, and at this point, raise the extended leg up towards the vertical. As you breathe in, reverse the movement, so bring the leg back down to the floor, the arms back overhead, and then repeat 3 more times. So we're breathing out to straighten the leg up towards the ceiling, breathing in, opening across the front of the body, trying to keep the legs straight throughout, so just work within a comfortable range of movement, turning the heel away from you so we get a bit of a stretch through the calf. Once you've taken that 4 times, take 1 more, but this time, as you breathe out, bring your leg to the vertical and bring your hands to rest on the back of the hamstring itself. At this point, release the knee as much as you need to so that you can comfortably hold the back of the hamstring. From here, we're going to take our pandiculation exercise. What that means is we're going to contract the hamstring muscle slightly, and then we release it, triggering a reflex response where the muscle lengthens out. To start the exercise, we're just going to breathe in here, and then when you're ready to breathe out, we're going to straighten the leg and push it in towards your hands, about 30% effort, and then add a little pause at the end of your breath and allow the muscle to lengthen and the leg to relax backwards. Stay as you breathe in, then breathe out, push the leg in towards the hands. On the pause, release the effort, allow the leg to come back. Take that 2 more times. Keep the leg as straight as it is comfortable to. 30% effort as you breathe out and contract the muscle, and then release it for a few seconds. Once you've taken 4, if you want to just stay, take a passive stretch for 30 seconds or maybe 4-6 breaths. You can move the hands a little bit further up the leg if you want to, and just wait to see if the muscle responds and lengthens further. When you're ready to come out of the stretch, breathe in, take the arms overhead, and bring the leg back to the floor. Breathe out, lower your arms, come back to your starting position, and then we'll move on to the other side. Relax your legs for a moment. And then when you're ready to, bend the opposite knee and extend the other leg. Breathe in, raise the arms, and then when you're ready, breathe out, lower the arms and bring the leg to the vertical with the heel turned up. Breathe in, reverse the movement, take the arms and the leg to the floor, and then breathe out, repeat. Keep the leg as straight as it's comfortable to. Take 2 more. On this next movement, when you're ready to breathe out, bring the leg to the vertical and then bring the arms to rest on the back of the hamstring, releasing the knee slightly. And we'll take our pandiculation exercise. Breathing in to begin, and then breathing out, straightening the leg in towards the hands, and then releasing it on a pause. Breathe in, and then breathe out, contract the muscle. At the end of the breath, take a pause, release. Take 1 more. Once you've completed, if you want to take a static stretch, we're going to take 6 breaths or stay for at least 30 seconds and just see if you can breathe into it, keep it nice and relaxed, and allow the muscles to lengthen out. When you're ready to come out of the posture, we're going to breathe in, take the arms to the floor behind, bring the leg back down, and then as you breathe out, just lower the arms. And then release both legs. Let them relax outwards. And then just take a short rest. The following stretches could be used after a run and target the hip flexors and the hamstrings. It's important that the muscles are already warm before we do any progressive stretching, so if you haven't been for a run, make sure that you've done a little bit of mobility work first. From a kneeling position, if you step forwards with one leg, so the front knee bent, give yourself a long stride. We're just going to come into a low lunge, and we're going to be targeting the hip flexors on the back leg. Breathing deeply, directing the inhale into the tummy and down into the lower abdomen. And as you breathe out, see if you can relax the effort, encourage the muscles to lengthen out. From here we can come into a second stretch for the hamstrings by straightening the front leg, maybe taking the hands a little bit further back and letting the head go towards the knee. For most of us runners, the leg isn't going to be completely straight. Just go to a point where it's pain-free, there's no discomfort, and you can sustain it for at least 30 seconds. Again, if you can just focus on your breath, working with a nice relaxed breathing pattern, in particular focusing on lengthening your out breath. There's another variation of this stretch where we can lift the toes so the foot is flexed, and you might find that this allows you to lengthen out the muscles in the calf as well. And then lastly, we're going to come back into our hip flexor stretch, coming up into our low lying lunge. And then from there, you've got the option, if it's comfortable, to walk your hands up onto the knee so you're in a slightly more elevated position. If that feels a little bit too intense at the moment, stick with the low lunge, and then over a few weeks, you might feel there's a little bit of an improvement in the range of movement. Hold that second lunge position for at least 30 seconds. And then once you've completed, step back and we'll do the other side. So stepping forwards with the opposite foot, give yourself a nice long stride and place your hands either side of the foot. You can also use a couple of blocks if you want to rest your hands a little bit higher up. And remember, we're taking at least 30 seconds in this low lunge, breathing into the lower abdomen and relaxing the effort as you breathe out. Once you've taken that first stretch, you can straighten the leg and take your hands a little bit further back, rounding the back of the body. Just go as far as you feel comfortable. And again, take 6 breaths or at least 30 seconds. Keep your breathing nice and relaxed. If you want to turn the foot up, toes pointing upwards, you might feel it a little bit more throughout the lower leg. And then we come back into our low lunge. We can either stay there or bring ourselves up into a slightly higher position with the hands resting onto the knees. Once we've completed, then we can step back into a kneeling position if that's comfortable and just rest for a moment. The next exercise you could try is a mobility exercise for the hamstrings and the calf muscles. The breathing pattern is a little bit different for this one. We're always moving on an out breath and staying for the in breath. We're going to start in a crouched position. Bring your front foot about 30 centimeters in front of your back knee and turn the toes of the back foot under and place your hands either side of the front foot. When you're ready to, we're going to breathe in here and then breathe out, straighten both legs and lift your hips nice and high, letting your head drop down towards your front knee. You should feel a stretch across the back calf and the front hamstring. Breathe in there and then breathe out, come back down. Stay as you breathe in, so come up as you breathe out. Straighten both legs as much as you're able to. Try and push that back heel away from you. Stay as you breathe in and then breathing out, coming back down. So we're going to take 2 more. Lifting the hips and dropping the head towards the knee. Fully lengthening that back calf muscle. On the last movement, you've got the option of staying in a static stretch for a few breaths. So come up as you breathe out. And then see if you can really focus on just keeping that nice relaxed breathing pattern. Just pushing the heel away from you, finding that length throughout both of the legs. And then once you've completed, again we'll come back down as we breathe out. And we can step back and swap to the other side. So your foot's about 20 to 30 centimeters in front of the other leg. Same here, we'll take 3 movements dynamically, so coming up on an exhale. Breathing out, straightening both legs and lifting the hips. Staying as you breathe in and then coming back down as you breathe out. So taking 2 more dynamic movements. Pushing the heel away from you on the back leg. Keeping the whole of the front foot engaged with the floor. Breathing out, straightening both legs and lifting the hips. Staying as you breathe in and then coming back down as you breathe out. And then on that last movement, on your 4th movement, we'll come up into our stretch and stay for 6 breaths or at least 30 seconds. It's going to feel different from one side to the other, so just go to a point where you can feel the stretch, but when we're not working with any pain, we can breathe into it. It doesn't matter if that front leg isn't completely straight. Bend the knee a little bit if you need to. So you come down as you breathe out, and again just take a little bit of a rest in a kneeling position. A modification for the asymmetrical forward bend that we just looked at could be to do it as a symmetrical posture instead if you were finding it a little bit too challenging. The symmetrical forward bend is also quite a nice one to do in addition, just to stretch out the whole of the back of the body and to work on our ankle mobility. For this one, you start in a squat position with your heels lifted and you stay as you breathe in, and then as you breathe out, just as before, you lift the hips nice and high. You stay there as you breathe in, and then as you breathe out, you come back down. Taking it dynamically 3 times, lifting the hips nice and high, letting the head drop, not worrying about the legs being totally straight. Once you've taken 3 movements, then we can stay in a static stretch for 6 breaths or 30 seconds to a minute. As you breathe in, concentrate on lifting the sacrum up towards the ceiling and dropping the head down towards the floor. As you breathe out, you might find it useful to gently engage your tummy muscles, draw in at the navel to make space so that you can fold forwards a little bit further from the hips. Once you've completed, take your time to roll back up into a standing position. All of the standing yoga postures are good for leg and hip mobility and flexibility. I've picked a couple out for you that I think are useful for the calf muscle and for the hip flexors in particular, which you can do pretty much anywhere. The first one we're going to look at is called the warrior posture. Start by turning one foot out about 5 or 10 degrees and stepping forwards with the opposite leg. Take as long a stride as feels comfortable without the back heel lifting. Draw your front hip back so that the pelvis is in a neutral position facing forwards. And then when you're ready to, we'll start with both legs straight. On an in-breath, you're going to raise the arms up in front of you and bend your front knee only, so keep that back leg straight. Can't see my arms in the video, but you can interlock the fingers and turn the palms upwards just to help find that extra bit of length through the spine and down through the legs. If you find that there's any pinching in the lower back area or any compression, then if you lean forwards a little bit, that can help. Also, you can draw the tailbone under to reduce the curve in the lower back and bring more of the length into the hip flexors. Once you've completed, if you want to breathe out and lower the arms, straighten that front knee, then I'm just going to show you exactly the same posture, but this time with a different arm variation. We're going to take the arms behind us, interlock the fingers, breathe in and bend your front knee into the warrior posture. Keep the chin tucked in and the back of the neck nice and long. You're just going to gently draw your shoulder blades down and towards each other to open the chest. And you might want to draw the tailbone under just to open across the front of the hip. When you've completed, release on an out breath and we'll step back. And then we'll take the same on the other side. So you turn the opposite foot out ever so slightly and then step forwards. A nice long stride. Both legs straight, drawing the front hip back. And then when you're ready to, breathing in, raising the arms and bending the front knee. If you want to, interlock the fingers. Make sure that back leg stays straight. Push the heel away from you. And if you want to, draw the tailbone under or lean a little bit further forwards. Make sure you stay for at least 6 breaths, at least 30 seconds. Direct the breath into the chest and the tummy. And when you've completed, lowering and taking our second variation with the fingers interlocked behind us, head in neutral, bending the front knee and drawing the shoulder blades down and towards each other. Feeling that nice stretch across the front of the chest and the hip. When you're ready, release the fingers, straighten the front knee and then step back. And then finally, I'm just going to show you a stretch you can do for the calf muscles. You need to be next to a wall. You're going to need a block or a really thick book for this one. Place your block around 1/2 meter away from the wall, and then you're going to step onto the block with your heels hanging off it. Rest your hands on the wall about shoulder width apart and start with the arms straight. And then when you're ready to, breathe in, lift your heels, come onto your toes. And as you breathe out, drop your heels down towards the floor, lean into the wall and let the heel lengthen away. So this one's a passive stretch. We're just waiting for the muscles to lengthen out. We're not using any force. Once you've been there for a few breaths, breathe in, lift the heels again, and then breathe out, drop the heels. You can stay for up to a minute in the stretch and then repeat the exercise a couple more times. This one's a good one to do after a run. It's also good to do it a couple of times in the day if you can, just to keep the calf muscles nice and healthy.